This video was sponsored by JetBrains. There's this one problem with Python that many people have asked me to explain. Here, I have a Python program and a C program that are supposed to do exactly the same thing. Spawn as many threads as there are CPU cores on my system, and have each thread perform some math in an infinite loop. If I run these programs, nothing particularly interesting seems to happen at first. But if I open a resource monitor, things get more interesting. The C version is clearly using all the cores on my computer, while the Python version isn't really doing much. Hi friends, my name is George, and this is CodeCrafters. One of the biggest mistakes people make when learning low-level concepts is assuming that threads automatically imply parallelism. I personally think this happens because many tutorials and articles explain threads as a way to run code without interrupting the main function. Naturally, people associate this with the idea of running code at the same time. And this little phrase, "at the same time," can be a little misleading. For newcomers to this channel, the purpose of concurrency is to allow a system to handle multiple tasks at once, basically multitasking. Since most systems have fewer processors than running tasks, this is achieved by alternating access to the CPU. If this alternation happens fast enough, we get the illusion that everything is happening simultaneously. If a system has multiple CPU cores, concurrency can be taken one step further by assigning different tasks to different cores. At that point, multitasking is no longer an illusion. It's true simultaneous execution. Both approaches fall under concurrency, but only the latter is parallelism. When we write a program and spawn multiple threads, what we're really doing is telling the operating system that multiple sequences of code within the same program can run concurrently, and, if possible, in parallel. At least that's the idea in almost most major programming languages out there. The problem with Python is that no matter how many cores your system has, you can spawn multiple threads and they still won't run in parallel. So what's going on here? It all comes down to the risks of concurrency. If two threads running concurrently share mutable data, there's a chance they might try to read from and write to that data at the same time. Imagine two threads sharing a string. One thread is updating the string. With just the wrong timing, the other thread could access the string while the first one hasn't finished updating it yet, and as a result that thread will end up working with inconsistent data. This is known as a race condition, and we've talked about it on this channel in previous episodes. The solution to this problem is complicated, but at a high level, it comes down to a special kind of variable known as a mutex lock. Think of a locker and a key. The shared variable is placed inside a box protected by a lock. If a thread wants to access the variable, it must first acquire the key and enter inside that protected box before start interacting with the variable. Since there's only one key, only one can hold the lock at a time. If any other thread tries to modify the variable, it won't be able to, because it doesn't have the key. It must wait until the lock is released, which only happens once the current thread is done modifying the variable. In the same way, a thread cannot read from the variable without having the key. It has to wait until the other thread is done and releases the lock. And that's a very simplified explanation of how race conditions are avoided. The question now is, what does this have to do with Python? Well, we'll get to that after a quick message from JetBrains. When I'm experimenting or trying new things, the last thing I want is to spend an hour configuring extensions just to get basic autocomplete. With JetBrains, you install it, open your project, and it just works. Everything is built in. A lot of people don't know this, but most JetBrains IDEs are completely free if you're using them for non-commercial or hobby projects. Not free tier limited, not community editions, but the same full-featured IDEs professionals use. Literally the full versions, completely free. They've also got AI deeply integrated into their IDEs now, context-aware suggestions that actually understand your project, not just random completions. And even the AI includes a free tier for hobby use. So if you're tinkering with a side project, learning a new language, or just building something because it makes you happy, you can use all of this at no cost. If you want to try JetBrains IDEs, hit the link in the description below. As we've discussed in previous times, CPUs can't understand Python code directly. We can't just load Python code in memory and expect a CPU to start running it. To run a Python script, another program is needed, an interpreter. A program that reads the Python script and starts running it. That program is written in a high-performance language, and in the case of the official Python interpreter, that language is C. So, strictly speaking, we never run a Python program directly. What we actually run is a C program that interprets Python code. Every single line of Python code corresponds to a series of C routines that eventually run on the hardware. For a simple expression like this one, the interpreter needs to resolve the left-hand side, then the right-hand side, determine which operation the symbol represents, and finally execute the corresponding logic. Now ask yourself this question. If Python, as a language, supports concurrency, does that mean the code interpreting the Python script must also be able to run concurrently? It depends on the approach used by the interpreter. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the official Python interpreter takes the most straightforward approach. For every Python thread that is spawned, the interpreter creates a corresponding operating system thread in its C code. This sounds simple, but it comes with some serious caveats. If the interpreter itself runs concurrently, its internal machinery should be shared between threads. Race conditions don't affect the Python script directly. They affect the C code that interprets that script. And if the interpreter misbehaves, the scripts it's running will almost certainly misbehave as well. I know this might not be easy to follow, so let's look at an example. Suppose the interpreter uses a data structure like a hash map to store the values of declared variables. When running a script, every time a variable is created, it's represented internally as a custom structure inside the interpreter, and that structure is inserted into the hash map. Later, when that variable is needed, the interpreter looks it up in the hash map to retrieve its value. Now, imagine what happens if two Python scripts run concurrently and that hash map isn't protected in any way. If both Python threads create a variable at the same time, from the point of view of each interpreter thread, the next available slot where to put that value in the hash map appears to be the same one. As a result, the C code executing those scripts can end up inserting both variables into the same location. Two variables were created by the Python scripts, but only one of them was actually recorded by the interpreter. If the overwritten variable is accessed later, the interpreter will try to find it in the hash map, fail to do so, and raise an error, something like variable not declared, even though it was correctly declared earlier in the script. Notice that if this data structure were protected by a mutex, the situation would be very different. Only one thread would be allowed to access the hash map at a time. One thread would acquire the lock, determine the next available slot, insert its value, and release the lock. Then the other thread would acquire the lock, see the updated state of the hash map, and insert its own value into the next slot. Every time a line of Python code is interpreted and access to the hash map is required, this mechanism guarantees that only one thread inside the interpreter can access the hash map at any given moment. What I'm trying to highlight with this example is that if the interpreter were to provide concurrency by using concurrency, data structures, collections, and any component susceptible to race conditions would need to be protected. And here's the answer to our main question. Instead of using a dedicated mutex for every one of those sensitive components, the official Python interpreter uses a single global mutex to protect the entire interpreter core, the part that executes Python code. This is the global interpreter lock, or as most people call it, the GIL. So every time a Python thread is spawned, the interpreter spawns a real operating system thread. But because the entire interpreter is protected by this single lock, any thread that wants to execute Python code must first acquire it. And since there's only one lock, only one thread can interpret Python code at a time. The result? No parallelism is possible in Python threads. And there's our answer. The limitation is not inherent to Python as a language, but to its official interpreter, known as CPython. To prove this, you can try running your code on a different Python interpreter. For example, this is an implementation of Python written in Rust. If I use this interpreter to run the same program I showed at the beginning of the video, you can see that it does scale across multiple cores. Now the obvious follow-up question is, why was this design choice made in the official interpreter in the first place? The short answer is simplicity. Here's a direct explanation from Guido van Rossum, Python's creator.
The global interpreter lock solves the problem that Python originally was not written with either asynchronous or parallelism in mind at all. There was no concurrency in the language. There was no parallelism. There were no threads.
When Python was released back in 1991, threads weren't really that popular. But just a few years after, all major operating systems suddenly started shipping with a thread API. Guido thought it would be great if Python supported this new feature. That way, developers could write concurrent programs without having to deal with the complexity of C.
But the nice thing was, if you were using sockets from Python, then all the things you can do wrong with sockets in C would automatically give you a clear error message instead of just ending up with a malfunctioning hanging program. And so we thought, well, we'll do the same thing with threading.
But he encountered a difficult decision. Protecting every internal data structure inside an interpreter with its own mutex is incredibly complex. The Python interpreter is full of shared state. Making all of that thread safe would dramatically increase the complexity of the codebase.
But we didn't really want to rewrite the interpreter to be thread safe, because that would be a very complex refactoring of all the interpreter code and all the runtime code.
You see, even if, for any reason, threads won't run in parallel, this quick alternation pattern we call concurrency is still useful in a lot of situations. Because again, if it runs fast enough, response time increases.
As libraries for multi-threading were added to C, we thought, and maybe we were wrong, but at the time we thought, well, we quickly want to be able to support these multiple threads, because they seemed at the time in the early 90s, when they were new, at least to me, they seemed a cool, interesting programming paradigm.
Because back in the mid-90s, multi-core CPUs were extremely rare anyways. Concurrency alone was definitely something Python developers could take advantage of. So they decided to go for the GIL approach. That way Python would provide concurrency, while the interpreter would still be protected without having to rewrite much of its logic.
And so we thought we had conquered the abstraction of threads pretty well, because multi-core CPUs were not in most Python programmers' hands anyway.
For almost 10 years, this solution was good enough. But starting from the mid-2000s, when chip manufacturers started shipping CPUs with multiple cores, that decision from a decade earlier proved to be a big limitation.
At some point, the chip designers decided that they couldn't make the CPUs faster, but they could still make them smaller, and so they could put multiple CPUs on one chip. And suddenly there was all this pressure about do things in parallel, and that's where the solution we had in Python didn't work. And that's sort of the moment that the GIL became infamous.
More than 30 years later, the process of removing the GIL has finally begun. And with that, Python will finally be able to run threads in parallel. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please hit the like button. And if you want to learn more, subscribing is completely free. See you in the next one.